All right, Matt, talk me through what we're going to be doing today.
We are going to repack these bearings onto this wheel. We'll take our hubcap off. Get this little cotter pin out. They come out so easily.
There it goes. What are we using there to take that off, Matt?
The fantastic Ford multi tool.
Very cool.
You can say Ford on there somewhere?
It does, sort of.
There we go. Now we're using manpower. We still got a piece of that cotter pin in there. I can feel it. Alright, so after we cleaned up all the grease and we took the cotter pin out, got the castle nut off, this bearing, this outer bearing that's here, it's actually threaded. And this tool, you can see the flat spots here and here, is beveled to fit on that perfectly, so you can unscrew that bearing. You can buy aftermarket bearings, and there's a sleeve that goes over the threads for the bearing to sit on, because the inside of it isn't threaded. So this is actually a aftermarket threaded bearing, because you can see the cone bearings instead of the ball that came originally. That grease is pretty melted in there. There she is. There she is. Alright, we got our grease cap for this rear bearing, and I'm going to try to get out so we can get to that rear bearing. Out she comes.
Opa!
There's the cap. Clean that up. And I'm gonna, wow.
We had that off before?
Yeah.
Seen some use.
Yeah, they've been driving the crap out of it. It still looks good though. Oh no. Alright, now we're going to pack these fantastic little bearings. I'm going to set it down here. Just going to put the grease around. And the fun part is you jam it way down in there. Make sure all those little moving cylinders are encased with the grease. Pack it in there. We're going to do the same on this side. See this little lip, same in the front. Just pack it in as best we can. that she's good and messy, we'll drop her right back in her home that she wants to be in. We're going to put that grease cap back on. As Wayne pointed out earlier, it's got a felt ring in here that helps the grease from, keeps it in where it's supposed to be. It doesn't come out and splatter all over the place. Which it still will a little bit, but not enough to be concerned. It goes right back there on the top. Oops. There she goes. Yep. A little light tappy. There she goes, and she is flush. So we're going to pack the bearing like we did on the back, the same on the front. So it's inner, outer, so we're going to repack the outer bearing before we place the outer bearing in to its little happy home. We're going to fill this inside channel, which I just found on a video from my good friend Chuck, who was also going to ask after he watches this video why I didn't use the red grease. I didn't have any, Chuck, and I didn't think I didn't have any. Same as before. Make sure we mash it in there real good down into all those cylinder barrel bearings. All right, so before we put this front bearing in, this is where I'm going to fill this inside with grease, this inside little cannula with grease in there as well. Keep everything good and lubed. A lot of guys will use like a spatula or a spoon or something, but I cheat and use a grease pen. Now, that is ready. Remember, this bearing is the one that threads on, so we'll wait to install that until we get the tire actually in place, and then we can hold the tire, thread the bearing on. So we put it in there now, it's just going to fall out.
Okay, so we're just doing the other side now.
Yeah. Taking off that bearing. Outer bearing is off. Wiggle it, slide it right on out of here. Just like that. This is the inner bearing race that goes in here. It's tapered for the shape of the bearing. I don't know if you can see it. It's cone shaped like that, so this fits down inside of it like it should. So it spins in there. They make what's called a race remover tool that goes down inside of here and then it expands and pulls it out. The way I did it, which we didn't see it the first time, is we flip the tire over and just take a punch or something that's not going to dent the race. You don't want to do any damage to it, and you don't want to get inside in here in the bearing either. You don't want to do any damage to those cylinders, and then you just kind of tap on it lightly from the other side, and it just kind of comes out, falls out. All right, so we're dropping a race in, just like that. Make sure you've got the taper going the right way, so it's going to be facing towards the out of the car, the outside. And then goes our bearing, just like that. All right, it's our grease cap going back on. Give her a little push, just make sure she's on all the way. Try not to smack the bearing like I was doing. Put this sucker back on. Now this back bearing sits up flush with this piece right here. That's as far as it needs to go. And then you can tighten it down. We'll do that right now. Let's put it flush now. fruits of our labor. This is the threaded one. On there. All right. Now you don't want to over tighten them, or you will have to take them off and repack them like I did, because they will run too hot. Good. Check our tension. Multi-tool.
What are we looking for here, Matt?
Much better. You don't want it to. You want it to slow roll like it's doing. If it comes to an abrupt stop, it's rolling, and you see it just slow down super fast. Your bearings are too tight in there. So you want to just roll it pretty free space. So you're not compacting those bearings, put too much pressure on, causing metal on them. Normally, what I found is I go until it's tight, and back it off a quarter of a turn. Seem to work. All right, now we're going to put our cotter pin in, like such. Bend her over, like such. There she goes. And put her hub back on. Get this to get wiped down afterwards. So I found these threads are super fine. So I'm going to make sure that you are exactly lined up on them before you start to crank down on it, or you will cross thread them. Test driving the wheel bearings.
Went great.
Wheel bearings.
That's not bad. Wait a second. I can like physically see it too.
That's much better. Game changer.
How'd the wheel bearings do, Matt?
They stayed on, Wayne.